Hello, welcome to the Perception Podcast. I am your host, Thomas Casey Zellers, and today we are hopefully going to change your perception on things that you thought you already knew.
Dog is like, hey, like this dog's great, so you're gonna figure out how to work with this dog, and
Yeah.
you guys are gonna become a team. People, will always say an off switch. I don't believe in an off switch. I just think that the dog is a good working dog. I had been successful with Harley. We had located a good amount of individuals, so when I heard that gunshot, I was like, that's for Harley. I knew it. But then when 4 years go by, I've gotten text messages and stuff 4 or 5 years after the fact that say, I just want to say thank you. That's when you know you did the right thing. Yeah, I'm wearing this badge and this uniform, but at the end of the day, like, I'm a human. I'm doing the same grind you are.
No, not going back to jail. Not going to...
Hello, welcome to the Perception Podcast. I am your host, Thomas Casey Zellers, and today we are hopefully going to change your perception on things that you thought you already knew. And joining me in the studio today is Officer Jarred Koopman. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, so you are a canine officer, correct?
Yes,
With Fisher's PD.
that's correct.
Awesome. So, I guess I'll just let you kind of introduce yourself, really, at this moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So Fisher's Police Department's the only police department that I've worked for.
Okay.
I got hired in 2011, so I've been with them since. I was before I was a canine handler, I was just a regular patrol officer that assigned to a shift and what you typically see, taking crashes, taking reports, and I always had an interest in canine, and I was lucky enough to get selected as a canine handler and paired up with my first canine partner in 2015.
Gotcha. So, how long were you an officer before you became a canine officer?
Right around 3.5, 4 years, I was on the
Okay.
road by myself without a canine partner.
Is there I guess like a department requirement for how long you have to be in the field before something like that, or?
At our agency, it's usually you have to have 2 years experience at the police department before you can start kind of, if you're interested in being a field training officer or
Okay.
if you have interest in being a detective or being a supervisor.
Gotcha.
Our rule of thumb at the police department is you usually got to wait that 2 year mark. And to be honest, a canine handler, I was very fortunate that I got to canine young in my career early on. Most times you're not a handler until 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years on. And I ended up getting lucky and a position came available and
Yeah.
I put in for it and was selected.
Yeah. Well, at least they give you 2 years to kind of figure out what sort of stuff you want to
I think it's
do.
important, honestly. Obviously, I benefited from being a younger officer and getting the specialty unit, but
Yeah.
I think it's extremely important for officers to like get comfortable. There's so much that you have to learn and kind of navigate through.
Okay.
So I think, like to me, I always say it's going to take you at least 5 years for you to really understand what you're doing as a first time police officer
Sure.
before you start branching off into being a supervisor, detective, or
Yeah.
canine handler. So I was the fortunate one that got early on specialty. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. So then let me ask you to kind of go back to the beginning here. Not Genesis, but like
yeah.
just a beginning for you, really. Um, how did you, I guess, just really kind of develop an interest into law enforcement, and how did that sort of entry look for you, like the academy and all that?
Yep. So I actually grew up. I had a neighbor growing up. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and I had a neighbor that was part of the Omaha Police Department.
Okay.
And just kind of like as I think to me, I feel like every young child sees a police officer and thinks like, man, that's pretty cool. You get to drive a police car with lights and playing cops and robbers when you're a young kid. But
Yeah, it goes well with the light up shoes.
that's right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, you're like, geez, I'm already halfway there. I
Yeah.
might as well finish this thing. So, but then I was heavily into sports, and I actually went to school to play basketball and baseball in college. And when I graduated, I went for school for business management and got a minor in communication. And my dad is in pharmaceutical sales, so I was like, oh, I'll just go into sales. He lives a pretty good life, and
Yeah.
I remember I was at the gym working out, and there was a state police officer there that just became friends with because I always saw him at the gym, and he said, "Have you ever thought about being a police officer?"
Hey, I
And
need somebody to
yeah,
spot
to
me
spot
in the
me, yeah.
back. Yeah.
So I was like, well, I mean, I don't know, not really. And he was like, well, you're more than welcome to do a ride along if to see if it'd be something you're interested in.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I did a ride along with state police, with
Yeah.
IMPD, and I did one with Fishers and Carmel as well. And so I was like, man, this is pretty cool. But I was actually when I graduated college, I went into HR.
Uh-huh.
And then I went into sales for a little bit, and I just didn't like the monotony
Were
of
you
going
kind
to
of
work.
missing the ride along a little bit, or?
Well, it was the ride along was fun, but I think from my sports background of just being like a part of a team and
Mm.
camaraderie and just having something different every single day and kind of
Yeah.
that excitement, it was like, and having that ride along that I did, I was like, man, you get paid to do this. Like I've been sitting at a desk for HR and handling that sort of thing, and then
Yeah.
sales, it was like just the grind of sales. And so I started applying
Yeah.
different agencies, and that was back in kind of right after 9/11 happened. So
Mm.
like for Fishers, for example, I had applied for Fishers and there was about 800 applicants,
Yeah.
and there was only 2 spots available. And
Yeah. That was around the time because I grew up in Fishers,
yeah,
and that was, I mean, Fishers. It's actually crazy to say this, but like the cool thing about Fishers that I've noticed over the years is like how small it was to like
yes,
how big it is
yes.
now. It's crazy.
And I mean, even when I got started, like the changes now, I always say if you take a month off of work and you drive like out east or something, you're like, when did they start building that building?
Yeah.
You're like,
Come back
there's
and
so
it's
many.
different now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, but no, it's kind of that's where I ended up being and landing and
Yeah.
got hired on, and it's been great.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your time like throughout the academy? Was that kind of like an eye opener for you to kind of be like, whoa, like this isn't what I thought it was gonna be like?
No, I think I always say you get into law enforcement. It's not just something you try. I
Mm.
really do think it's a calling because I think it's kind of fulfilling a purpose that maybe like you said you're called to.
Hmm.
Um, so and having the life experience outside of law enforcement and working, I always say a regular job, a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
It makes you appreciate kind of what you're getting into and understanding like, yeah, I might make more money outside of law enforcement, which in the beginning I made more money not being a police officer than I
Sure.
was going to be a police officer.
Sure. Yeah.
But it was that excitement of me going, no, this is really something that I want to do.
Yeah.
So that is what when I was in the academy and like people are like, oh, the academy's tough. And like from a physical aspect, obviously with my sports background and I stay in shape, it wasn't hard physically. It was just, being in a classroom again and learning like case law and traffic law
Hmm.
and a couple of those things. Everything to me was I remember just absorbing everything, just like
Yeah.
wanting to learn, being a sponge,
Yeah.
and so it was exciting for me, and I was just really looking forward to it. I couldn't when I was in the academy, I was like, I just can't wait to get on
Just
the
can't wait to
road.
get
Yeah,
out.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to start working.
Yeah. Was there a moment, I guess, of I don't know, I guess a moment of reflection that you could have had whenever you finally got out there on your, like, this is your first time in the car, you're on the road for the first time. Was there a little bit of reflection to be like, wow, I was sitting in the passenger seat on a ride along not too long ago, and now here I am actually doing this?
Yeah. I definitely say it's so hard because, I guess that's one thing that people often ask is like, is there ever a time that you're scared or like there's a situation that you're like,
Hmm.
it worries you? Eh, They, the Fishers Police Department obviously is the only thing that I have experience off of, but I know other agencies are like this as well. They train you so well
Yeah.
that you feel like you're capable of doing the job, you're ready to do the job, especially the field training program. Obviously, you're going through the academy, it's a 3 month academy.
Yeah.
So you're there, you kind of get a really good base foundation of being a police officer. Then once you get back to the Fishers Police Department, there was another 3 month process of being in a field training program where another senior officer's in the car with you. So you never felt like you're just thrown to the wolves. So
Okay.
it's kind of like the baby steps where there's 4 phases of field training. So the first phase,
Yeah.
it's kind of really showing you like, hey, this is where we get gas for our vehicles. This is where we get this paperwork.
Yeah.
So it's like really baby stepping. And then as you go forward with the other, phase 2 and phase 3, you're kind of like almost where you're by yourself,
Okay.
essentially, where the police officer's like, at this point, you should know how to handle a call. You should
Gotcha.
know how to interact. You should know how to, if you, arrest somebody, where, all that sort of like the finer details of it all. And then
Yeah.
phase 4 is what they call the shadow phase. So really the police officer's with you, but they're not really saying much because they want to make sure, hey, if we release
You're
him,
actually doing
is
what
he
you're.
good to go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I never felt it was always obviously an excitement
Yeah.
because it was something I was interested in doing.
Yeah. You're.
And then I just felt like I was well trained and well equipped. And
Yeah.
I don't think to be honest, I don't think I got a aha moment of like, man, I really of what I'm stepping into until later on in my career where you
Sure.
kind of get older and more mature and you realize maybe some of the dangers of it. When you're, I was 24 years old, so at 24 you still think like, oh, I'm young
I'm
and
king
I'm
of the
ready to
world.
go.
Yeah.
I'm invincible. Like, let's go. But
Yeah.
as you get older and you have a family and kids
Yeah.
and kind of society and things like that of when I first got into law enforcement, it was more respectable to be in law enforcement. And as I got older in my career with the way
Yeah.
society is and things like that, that was the first time you're like, where people are like, you realize, oh man, people don't like you. People don't like the fact that, you're in a
Yeah.
uniform, you're wearing a badge, that people don't like you just simply because of the job or profession you chose.
Right.
And I remember telling that to my kids for the first time because obviously they know me, right? I'm dad,
Yeah.
and they know my friends that are other police officers that. And the first time I told my kids that people don't like us typically, and they're like, "What? Like, why would they not like you?"
You're
And
my dad.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it was those little aha moments in my career that makes you realize, it's a
Mm,
different people see it differently, versus when you're young getting into it or when you're
yeah.
interested in the profession and do a ride-alongs, you think about all the great things that come with law enforcement
Mm,
and you can't foresee some of those things that are going to happen in your career or your
yeah.
life.
Was it kind of hard for you as a parent to kind of like have to break that down to your kids at all, or like kind of hear their reaction a little bit?
I think when your kids get old enough where they understand what could happen, that's when it hits for the first time,
Mm,
or like when your
yeah.
kid is um when your kid like asks you not to go to work because they want you to come home,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So that was, but you just explain to them that, we're trained and, dad's working with his friends and their friends are going to make sure that I come home. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do your kids like see like videos or something like that of like bad situations that do occur, and does that kind of maybe trigger it a little bit, or?
No, obviously, like my wife and I are very open with our kids.
Okay.
Our kids don't have social media. I've got a 13-year-old and 11-year-old. They don't do
Sure.
social media. They don't have phones.
Good. Good. Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't need to be on social
no,
media at that
no,
age. No.
absolutely not. They don't need to be watching like podcast. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, no, I think just I think being in a household where your dad is a police officer and
Yeah.
just by just simply being around them, right? You understand the stories that maybe they come home with, or seeing the news. I remember I think the to me as a father when I saw my kids watching kind of the George Floyd thing
Yeah.
unfold and seeing like riots and when every time because I was interested in that, right? And my
Hmm.
wife and I were sitting there just kind of watching everything unfold from the
Yeah.
beginning to the end of all of that stuff. And I think that's when my kids realized, like, oh my gosh, like I don't,
This
my dad's
is.
into like, you know,
Yeah.
that's where they saw a lot of it opened their eyes to kind of
Yeah.
the world, right?
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I do want to ask you a little bit deeper on that aspect of things. Like, I mean, obviously you don't want to think that it'll happen to you, but do you really kind of have to mentally prep yourself and really kind of be okay with the fact that, yeah, I might not come home today?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think a police officer's foolish um, to enter into this and not think that something could happen, right? So I think you have to mentally, and I think that's just about kind of being mentally tough as well as understanding like you should be thinking about every situation and if I go into this, what could happen? What how am I going to handle the situation? So I think once again to be a police officer that. Um, is respected and
Hmm.
understand what you're getting into, you have to think that way.
Gotcha.
But I also think to think of it as in a way of understanding that it doesn't have to be that, right? I always
Hmm.
say for me, I'm a human being just like you. I'm a human being just like everyone I interact with.
Hmm.
The way when I got into law enforcement is, and everyone always says, "Oh, I just want to help people," but I think sometimes truly, what does that mean when you actually say you want to help someone, right? So it's
Yeah.
having empathy for people and understanding. When I go into a situation, I don't want them to just. I have to control the situation because I don't know what their intentions are, right? Just
Yeah.
as much as they don't know what my intentions are.
Yeah.
So I have to go into that situation with respect and empathy and understand like this might be the worst scenario that this individual that I'm in contact with has ever experienced. And
Yeah.
it's my job to put them at ease and to just simply talk with them, right? I always
Sure.
say a good police officer is able to talk with anybody, whether it be somebody that's homeless, whether that be somebody that makes multiple millions of dollars. You have to interact with everybody
Yeah.
from those aspects and everybody in between. And so if we just look at it from a place of people are human and
Hmm.
people are going to have their worst days, their best days, whatever it may be. And my job is simply I'm input into a situation,
Yeah.
maybe because I got called to that situation, maybe because I made a traffic stop, whatever it may be, that I'm trying to do something that I feel is right, whether it be like, slowing a speeder down that's driving too fast,
Yeah.
and understand I don't know what situation I'm coming into, or I don't know what the individual has just experienced. So I have to come at it from a place of I'm not trying to insert myself. I have to control the situation in order for me to go home and be safe. But at the
Yeah.
same time, just be patient with somebody, listen to somebody.
Yeah. Finding a balance between assertiveness and humility.
Correct.
Really.
Yep. And I always
Gotcha.
say if you come into it and I to me, I think what has allowed me to be successful in this career is
Hmm.
this being quick, being able to like quickly gauge a situation.
Sure.
So I think there's a bunch of situations that, you go to on an every single day basis that you understand like, hey, this is a really serious one and I need to quickly
Yeah.
insert myself maybe and try to get control of it. Or maybe I just come and listen right away
Mm.
and see what pain or suffering or frustrations or whatever they want to be heard.
Yeah.
So I think that has always allowed me to be successful in this career is just simply being able to quickly gauge a situation and understand now how do I fit into this situation or
Yeah.
how can I help or how can I help mediate something. So
Yeah.
that's has allowed me to be successful
Hmm.
and at the end of the day allow me to just my end of the goal. I
Come
want
home.
them to go home and I want me to go home and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help right now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Tenet?
Tenet.
Yeah.
No.
It was a Christopher Nolan movie.
Uh-uh.
Um, it's one of those like mind bendy stuff like Inception.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but there's a line in the film that's always kind of stuck with me for some reason where um he tells one of the protagonists, he says to him, "We'd all like to think that we can go into the burning building, but until we actually feel that heat, we
Hmm.
we will never know."
Yeah. That's
So,
what a great line.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of, I mean, would you say you'd be able to relate to that at all?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%, right? And
Yeah.
then I always think too, like Mike Tyson always said, everyone has a plan until they get punched, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's honestly like it's the God honest truth. Like
Yeah.
for me, I welcome every. I'm like, come do a ride along with me. Like
Yeah.
in that way you can, and maybe in that way I can talk with you. Maybe your background with police or whatever. If I come in contact with somebody that I can tell, I'm like, okay, they're really mad at me right now, or you could tell right away that they just don't like the police.
Yeah.
And I just simply like I'm just trying to ask like, hey, I feel like you've had a bad experience before. Like you want to share that or what, and
Hmm.
most people will say, I don't like you guys because of this, and this.
Hmm.
Um, and so I always say like for people to understand the unknown
Yeah.
and that's what's always funny too is people always say, hey, police shouldn't be allowed to do this. They shouldn't be allowed to do this
Sure.
until they need help. And then now all of a sudden they
Yeah.
want us to do all this stuff that we can't legally do. It's like, oh, so now you want me because your phone's stolen. You want
Yeah.
me to go break down this door right now because you think your phone's in this house. And you're
Yeah.
like, I can't do that. And they're like, well, my phone's in there. Like, yeah, there's stuff that there's policies and laws and stuff that we have to follow. We can't just go breaking down this door. But
Yeah.
that's when I think it puts perspective into people of man, now I need help. So now I'm wanting to do more now because I'm the one that needs help, right?
Yeah.
Versus looking at it from sitting on the couch
Yeah.
and judging what you're doing when you're like, once again, to your point with the line, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't question what or whatever gauge what I'm trying to do when you've
Mm.
never been in that situation and you don't know how you think you would act a certain way. You
Hmm.
think you would handle a situation a certain way, but until you're in that situation, don't judge,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I dig it. I
Yeah.
dig it. That's a great mentality to have about it, really. Um, so okay, so break down to me a little bit then. Would you say you're a spiritual person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. How does police work and all that sort of stuff? How does that speak to you spiritually? Like when did you kind of know in your life that this is what God's calling you to do?
I think just like I said earlier, I think when you feel like you have a purpose for this, I think when
Hmm.
when bad things go on, right? And I grew up, I lived a good life, right? I had two parents that were involved in my life.
Hmm.
Um, so it just when you th- it just when you think that at the end of the day you're like there's got to be a higher purpose than what I currently have or what I'm living, right? So
Sure.
in order, like, when something bad happens, I think, well,
Yeah.
this is what's dealt. How can I make the best of this? Or there's a reason why this is happening.
Hmm.
Maybe I don't understand, maybe I don't agree with it,
Yeah.
but there is a bigger reason or bigger purpose for this. So
Yeah.
how me now in this situation, how am I going to navigate through this right now
Hmm.
and think about, once again, empathy for people, right? So but I also think too, going into law enforcement, that also got me burned a few times because I grew up believing that everyone's best interest, right?
Mm.
That people were in it to as in a respectable way, right?
Yeah.
If I'm giving of myself, I'm also going to get that in return.
Hmm.
And I'm lucky that I experienced early on in my career. I always share this story. Um, I was helping another officer with a individual that was being investigated for drunk driving.
Okay.
So I show up, and at this point, I probably had like 2 or 3 years on at the police department, and the uh, driver was with the officer.
Hmm.
And at this point, I think he was just about to be placed in handcuffs.
Okay.
Well, he was only like two
So they
blocks.
already did like a field
They did field
sobriety.
sobriety.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And during this kind of investigation, the dad of the driver showed up because we were only like 2 blocks away from his house. Well, the
Gotcha.
dad's like, hey, I appreciate what you guys have to do, like being really respectful, being nice. And
Hmm.
he's like, my son actually just moved here and I'm from California
Yeah.
and I was just here helping my son move.
Hmm.
And we leave tomorrow morning to fly back out to California. And he's like, man, I'm a retired police officer. I know what you guys have to go through. I'm not trying to have you, release him or whatever. I just want to be able to give my son a hug. Can I do that? So for me, I'm like,
Wow.
like as a fault, right? I'd be like, I'd want my dad to give me a hug if I was, if, in that situation. So I took the handcuffs off this individual and let him hug his dad. And I put the handcuffs. Luckily, thank God, nothing bad happened.
Yeah.
Um, and so then the dad left, and I'm talking with the son, and I was like, "So how long was your dad a police officer for?" And he looks at me and he's like, "My dad was never a police officer." And I just realized, man, this guy like lied to me just simply to get what he wanted. Where I'm looking at it from a place of empathy, and I just, I would want the same thing to happen to me if I was in that
Wow.
or my dad to be in that situation. And I remember the officer that I was helping was a police officer, had more years on than me. He was actually came from Los Angeles Police Department, so he had like really good knowledge and a lot of experience. And I
Hmm.
remember he said, "Don't you ever take anybody out of handcuffs that's that I'm in charge of." And that was that aha wake up moment of like, man, I could have got myself hurt. I could have got this officer hurt just simply because I'm trying to look at it from a place of empathy, where the empathy came back to, it could have came back to, bite
Yeah.
us.
Oh yeah.
So that was my aha moment of realizing, like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, you have to put some of that caring aside when you look at it from a place of what's going to make me safe and what's going to make people around me safe.
Right. Did you feel jaded?
Yes. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's hard not to feel jaded when you're like
Yeah.
I think because
You
I
just
think
used
about,
me, man.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think, well, and not even like for me it's like, hey, if I did something, I got burned, that's on me. But I put
Yeah.
somebody else now in a situation because I was right. And that was like when the police officer was like, don't you ever take handcuffs
Do that
off my
again.
prisoner ever again. Right. And so because I was doing something. So once again, at the end of the day, if I got burned, that's on me. I'm the only
Mhm.
one that I have to pay for that. But now I put somebody else in that
So
situation
yeah.
to know, like, man, I
Yeah.
could have hurt other people because of something that I chose to do.
Hmm. Wow. Golly. Wow. Um, do you often think to yourself like why this calling specifically to yourself or
Yeah, I think when you get older, you have kids, money always comes into play, right?
Sure.
You're like,
Yep.
or you see other people that have certain things like materialistic things, and you're like, man, I could be, like I said, my dad was in pharmaceutical sales. I
Yeah.
was in sales for a while. I was in HR. And early on in my career, I was making more money outside of law enforcement. And I was like,
Mhm.
man, I could be doing something making a lot more money, right?
Mhm.
That's the first thing. But then, thank God, I always say it's a blessing because I got to experience life
Yeah.
outside of law enforcement. So it makes you appreciate your current situation you're in.
Yeah.
But it definitely makes you think like, huh. But also going back to the spiritual thing as well, it's like I didn't enter into this on a wavering thing, right? I knew
Yeah.
like this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
This is what I was excited about
This
doing.
is what God is telling you to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you might think that stuff, but at the end of the day, you get um, perception of or reality of everything and
Mhm.
perspective. Sorry, that's the word I was thinking of. Perspective of, hey, I did live that life a little bit, and I
Yeah.
made more money, and I wasn't happy with what I doing, and I wanted more,
Yeah.
right? And now I'm in a situation where I enjoy coming into work. It's not
Mhm.
something that I like. Gosh, I have to
Yeah.
go into work now. I got to put on this uniform.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I ask you because I know that a lot of police officers, probably near their career or even sometimes at the halfway point, definitely like, and that's why I was asking if you felt jaded about it, and like your why is because whenever they are treated that way, or whenever, I mean, you have the current uh, outlook on society or of society on police officers, like, does it make you question yourself, make you question your calling at all? Because like you just like, man, I'm just trying to do the right thing.
yeah.
I'm just another human being. Like,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I always say one thing's for certain.
like, does it leave you a little jaded or feel a little betrayed whenever you see stuff like that on social media of like, well, F the police and whatnot, or
I say no,
really?
because I know the type of person I am,
Yeah.
right? I know the type of a human being I am. I know the type of person, police officer I am.
Yeah.
So I know that I can help that narrative, even in a small way,
Sure.
of having a good reaction with a police officer when I come in contact with people.
Yeah.
And even I always say, even if I leave that situation and someone's still mad at me, which has happened a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody still, throws out things that they hate the police, hate me, whatever. At the end, I always say, you know what though, a little bit of them, I'd like to think that maybe softened them up to go, okay, that guy wasn't all too bad, and maybe not all of them are like that. Um, but also, I think too,
I hate the police, except you. You're kind of
yeah,
cool.
and
Yeah.
no one was
Yeah.
ever gonna say that, like.
Yeah.
But I multiple times in my career I've had where people have gone, "Hey man, you've been cool. I appreciate that."
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like, hey, you're welcome, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I've come in contact with people that have been extremely rude, and I said, "Hey, I'll take the heat from you right now.
Yeah.
The only thing I ask out of respect, the next time you have a interaction with the police, just show them a little bit more respect than you showed me today."
Yeah.
And they might not say anything, right? But at the end of the day, there's no way from a human being perspective that someone's not going to think about that. And if they aren't going to think about that, I have no control over what they think, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to change their perception of it. But at least I know that I can control. I controlled what I can control, and that's showing them respect and being nice to them, being kind with them.
Yeah.
But I'm also grateful that I work at the Fisher Police Department. Like, they honestly, from our chief all the way down, like, it is truly a great agency. I work with great men and women. So, when you go to work and you see some things on the news, you always fall back on the fact that, like,
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I have a police department that I work at.
Yeah.
That people that I know the intentions of my coworkers, right? And so there's
Yeah.
not a single person, I can honestly say this. There's not a single person at the police department that I'm like, man, that guy or gal, she is a real, it's
Piece of work.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they really are. Like, they're trying to do what's best.
Yeah.
And our agencies hire people that feel like it's going to represent the city in a
Yeah.
good light and represent the other people that work at the police department and people that have been police officers before us. It's almost like that culture, right? You just want to create a culture of like, this is a good agency to work for.
Yeah.
And once again, you're not going to control everyone's thoughts or opinions about you. Not everyone's going to say that they've had a great experience with the police, Fisher's Police Department. But at the end of the day, I know the people I work with, and I've been on calls with a lot of the officers that work at the the police department. So
Yeah.
I know that, hey, they handle that maybe a little different way than I would have or how I would have spoke. But at the same
Sure.
time, I'm like, they at least were
Yeah.
respectful in a way, right?
You're not going to be getting 5 stars. We're hoping for 4.9.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah,
but you
we're
ain't
in a
getting 5
profession,
stars.
right?
Yeah.
Like, the odds of people liking us are not great. So if you tell someone, hey, you're getting a ticket, they're probably not going to be happy about that. So to understand, like,
stars.
to have an expectation that people are going to be happy every time you interact with them that's a wrong perception and
Yeah.
a logic to think.
I'm
So
going to leave an angry Yelp review. Like,
yeah,
all
you're
right,
like,
go ahead.
go ahead. Yeah,
Who
like,
even uses
get
Yelp
in line.
anymore?
Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people have hated me before you, and you're probably not going to be the last.
Yeah. All right, so I want to bring it back to the canine stuff because that's really the main reason why we're here today. So as far as I remember, and this is the history buff in me coming out, police dogs in the U.S. didn't really become a thing until like early 1900s, and then wasn't like a nationwide thing until like the 30s, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, you probably know even more than that, but I know it was
Yeah,
a long time
it
ago.
was roughly about 100 years ago,
Yeah.
really. So how do you think, like, from how it's changed from even just from your time in Canine for the past 10 years to even what it was like before then? Like, how have you kind of seen the landscape kind of change?
Well, I think from a standpoint of now, I think um, there's more knowledge, there's more
Mm,
information out on canines.
okay.
There's more case law out on canines of what we're able to do. I think I equate this with with police work to construction.
Okay.
W- With back in the 1900s, the rules to build a house were right. Like there wasn't
Oh,
that
there
many.
was no OSHA whatsoever.
Yeah,
People were
so
sitting on railings,
yeah, so when you look at like a house that's built in the 1900s, you go through it and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they built a house. Well, that was allowed,
Yeah.
right? And so the
Yeah.
same thing with police work is like that's what kind of how it was ran and how people went about their
Kind of Wild West, but also not
yes.
Wild West.
So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to judge on something that it's like that's all they knew at the because in 100 years people are gonna look back and be like, why did they do it like that in 2025?
Yeah.
Right? It's gonna be we're gonna look at the same way of like that we didn't know what we were doing either, right?
We don't know Jack, dude.
So
Yeah.
but I think because of social media, I think because of body cams, because of information being put out, or different things, just like I said, case law. I
Hmm.
think there's more um, kind of boundaries that you
Okay.
have in police work, in particular canine.
Hmm.
Like when I started canine, I mean it was pretty similar, I would say, at my agency
Yeah.
that we're operating with, because there has to be certain crimes and certain policies that are met before we can deploy a canine.
Okay.
When it comes to like searching for somebody, right? So it has to be for ours, a violent misdemeanor, a felony. So I'm not like
Okay, so it's not like a hey, you're jaywalking or whatever.
correct. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. We're not
it's
getting a
like an
dog.
actual like felony
Yes.
that someone has to commit.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So, and then that's where I always say I'm the brains of the operation and my dog's the worker for me, right? So I have to
Okay.
be I have to put him in a position to be successful
Gotcha.
while I'm thinking about case law, while I'm thinking about our policies, while I'm thinking about procedures, while I'm thinking about the public's safety, while I'm thinking about officer safety and the canine safety. So I'm
There's a
thinking
lot
about
going on.
all of these things when
Yeah.
I'm driving to a call or pulling up to a scene or
Sure.
deploying a canine. I'm thinking about all of these things. And at the end of the day, the beautiful thing as a human being is I have the ability to say even though I'm justified to do what I'm able to do right now,
Hmm.
it's not the best situation right now for my dog or for the public or for other officers.
Yeah.
And so I can make that determination to go, we're not using the dog right now.
Mm.
So, and I
Would you
think
say
that
that there's
goes
a good level of trust within the department to look at you and be like, hey, what do you think? Do we deploy
absolutely.
the dog or?
Yes, absolutely. And I think you build that trust, right? You
Okay.
build like your reputation and you build their like, hey, if he's squared away or he's thinking about all of these things.
Yeah.
Um
So they
so
actually take like your input for consideration on calls then.
yeah, absolutely. And
Gotcha.
once again it goes back to this is why I think our agency is a good agency to work for
Yeah.
is because I'm friends with sergeants, I'm friends with lieutenants, I'm friends with other coworkers. And so when someone's in and we're a team, it goes back to why I was interested in law enforcement to begin with.
Yeah.
When I'm in sports, this is a team thing. Like, hey, this isn't just about me, right? This is about me representing the city of Fishers.
Yeah.
This is me representing the people that are working next to me, my chief, my assistant chief, lieutenant. So my
Mhm.
decision is going to make everyone else look good or bad.
Mhm.
So when it comes to that, when we're interacting or we're on a call that maybe we haven't experienced, or every call is never the same. So every
Yeah.
call has a little nuance to it that
Yeah.
you have to work through. And that's where just simple line of communication of like, hey, what do you think about getting a dog right now? And we're like, well, based off where we are, it's high populated area. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be advantageous for the dog. What other avenues can we have, right? And we're just kind
Sure.
of bouncing things off of one another. And where I respect a sergeant or a lieutenant
Mhm.
with their own experience, and we're taking all of our experience together to say, hey, what's best for everybody involved right now?
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha. So, kind of break down for me then the training of the dogs, because I'm sure that because you said you had 3 months here and then you had 3 months there, so 6 months total of,
Well,
of
that's
training
for
for
when I was
you,
in
or
law enforcement academy. Yeah, when I was
okay,
just a regular officer, I did 3 months at ILEA, Indiana Law Enforcement Academy,
okay,
and then we did 3 months roughly in field training.
okay,
The dog's a little bit different. So when you're selected as a dog, usually, so if I had an interest, obviously, of being a canine handler,
yeah, yeah,
so I would get with the other handlers at the time to say, hey, I want to help out. Like, can I come decoy? And decoying is where you see like the videos where
the
guys are wearing
bite
the
suits
suits
and
and
yeah,
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 yep. So I did that early on, and I actually did that for 2 years before a spot even came available.
okay,
And that's kind of like your introduction into canine to see what they're all about,
yeah,
to gain a better respect, to see the work that goes into having a dog.
yeah,
And then the position came available, so I was selected as a canine handler. Then the whole unit, there's 5 of us, including myself,
yeah,
that have canine at the police department.
gotcha,
So the other handlers will come up and we go through a vendor up in northern Indiana called
okay,
Bonnet Kennels, and that's where we get our canines from. And you select a dog at that point. So they pick a
okay.
dog based off, hey, what's a good dog for Jarred as a partner? What's a good dog for our agency?
So did they have like a personality chart on you,
You know,
and
you would think it'd make it a lot easier.
to be like, well, this dog would be good for Jared,
Yeah,
like, yeah,
usually from the start of it is the handler the best fit for our agency? Is the
okay,
handler the best fit for someone that has to make decisions quick, somebody that makes good decisions, somebody that is reliable? So there's
yeah,
so many different things of like you got to start with the base foundation of we got to pick the right handler first,
yeah,
and then once that happens, usually the dog is what's best for Jarred, but at the same time, what's the best dog that we can get? And
yeah,
then, because I always say, I don't have to mold to the dog, or sorry, the dog doesn't have to mold to me. I have to mold to the dog,
sure.
right? I am
Yeah, because the
making
dog's gonna be
him
like, "Oh,
successful.
you're the greatest person in the
Yeah,
world."
the
Yeah,
dog is like, hey, like this dog's great, so you're gonna figure out how to work with this dog, and you
yeah,
guys are gonna become a team.
mm,
And that's when the whole bonding and all that stuff comes. That's where the
yeah,
beautiful thing about being a canine handler. But that's kind of like the generic process of
yeah.
doing all of it.
What's their sort of training like? Because I'm sure that like I'm sure they probably go through thousands of dogs because like I'm sure there's ones that just want to play and cuddle, and then there's some that maybe are a little too aggressive or anything like that. How do they kind of, if you know anything about
Yeah.
that, how do they kind of figure out
So
the
that process
candidates?
starts well before we even get our hands on the dogs.
Okay,
So Von Lake, they've been in business for over 30 years.
okay.
They have a very good working relationship with the kennels overseas. All the dogs come from overseas Europe, um, and so over in Europe they know, and the people too selling dog. It's a whole nother world over there in
So
terms
is there
of
like
like
a lot of German Shepherds and
well, German Shepherds now,
Belgians?
Belgian Malinois are kind of like obviously the big thing for the last, however long.
10 years, I
Yeah,
think.
at
Yeah,
least, right? I've been a handler for 10 years and they were popular before then. That's when
yeah.
military started getting the dogs and they kind of went away from the German Shepherds because the German Shepherds were having the hip dysplasia. And then
Yeah.
also the German Shepherds are bigger, right? So they're
They
heavier.
they
They're
also
like,
only like
yeah, who
live
wants
for
to work
like
a
8 years.
110-pound German Shepherd, right?
Yeah.
So then they're like, that's where the Belgian Malinois came. They're like, what? We got to find this a breed, a dog that is fast, quick, wants to work, and hunt
But is
aggressive, right? But
smart.
they have a good head about him, right? Like
Yeah.
they have a good people. Will always say an off switch. I don't believe in an off switch. I just think that the dog is a good working dog.
Yeah. What do you mean by off switch?
Well, you'll get people that say like, even handlers will say, "Oh, my dog has an off switch," meaning like, "Oh, my dog could go from biting somebody in a suit to now he can be laying with me on, next to,
Playing and
yeah." And so to me, I'm like, a dog doesn't understand that, right? A dog can't reason. So
gotcha.
you're putting, it's called anthropomorphic, of you're
Yeah.
putting human values on a dog that doesn't
Yeah.
have human values, right? So a dog
Yeah.
doesn't go, "Oh yeah, I have an off switch." No, a dog's just, they understand like, "Hey, I'm done with this." And once again, you as a handler are there to put him in a position to be successful. If
Yeah.
my dog is amped up, is it smart for me to now let people pet him? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but like when you're looking at all the traits of a dog, at the end of the day, he's a working dog,
Yeah.
right? And I always say he, because female dogs are hard to come by because they keep them overseas for breeding. So
Yeah.
it's very rare that you'll get a female working dog. They come every once in a while,
Okay.
but most of the dogs are males.
Mm-hmm.
But you just try to get the best dog that is going to work for your police department.
Gotcha.
Right. So, like for Fishers, for our agency, we do a lot of community outreach with the dogs. We do a lot
Yeah.
of canine demonstrations. We go into schools quite a bit.
Yeah.
Our dogs have to be great working dogs, but they have to be social in the aspect of, we can't have this dog that's just wanting to bite everything it sees. Right.
Right.
And
He
yeah.
has to be sociable. He has to
Yes.
play. Yeah.
Yes. And at the end of the day, too, like we kind of talked about too, is there's a huge liability with having canines on the police department. That's why we say
Oh, sure.
it starts from the top, right? If your
Mm-hmm.
chief doesn't like want to have that liability, you're not having a canine, right? So we're
Yeah.
lucky at Fishers that we have a chief that understands the importance of canines,
Yeah.
but also, right, we've shown him that we're able to have this liability on us with
Yeah.
working dogs because of our decision making.
Sure.
And also for him to have a trust with us is like, "Hey, I trust that you're going to do what's best for our agency and represent the city and
Yeah.
represent everybody involved when we're out working a dog." So that's obviously built over time. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
our we have a great canine unit at our
Yeah.
police department. So we've built a great unit and a great foundation that
Yeah.
the chief understands, like, "Hey, chief, can we get a new bite?" He's, "Okay, why do you need a new bite suit? Tell me." Okay. And then if you guys, but we
Well,
built
the
that
old one's got some
yeah,
holes in it.
because
Yeah.
it is expensive. But he's built that where we're not coming to the chief asking for stuff every single day. And
Yeah.
he knows, like, hey, if we come to him, that the unit probably needs a certain equipment to make them be more successful or to help them be safer in training or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I kind of went off on a tangent there,
No, no,
but
no. You're fine.
yeah,
You're fine.
yeah.
No, you kind of talked about it with me earlier off camera, but the suit you said is made out of the same stuff that they train them whenever they're puppies
Yeah,
with?
so and it's not all of them, but it's typically,
Okay.
well, they'll use the material. It's like Kevlar type of a material.
Okay.
And when they're puppies, and that's where, kind of going back on your question of like, how do they chew, like a dog's not like too soft, or he wants to play, or
Yeah.
he wants, when they're puppies, they'll understand like this. So what they look for is just the drive of a dog. If a dog wants to continually go after something, so well, I'll start with, because I'll get off on a tangent again. I love talking dogs.
Yeah.
But they start with that material when they're puppies,
Mhm.
and they're just playing with, it's like a typical house pet, right? When they have a
Sure.
favorite toy that they like, well, obviously when you're working, trying
Sure.
to breed a working dog for military or police,
Yeah.
you want them to perform a specific task. So they start with that, and then that transitions to what is on your arm, like it's arm sleeve, where they think in their little dog brain, "Oh, this is the same thing I played with when I was a puppy." They don't understand that it's now somebody's wearing
Uh,
this material,
yeah.
which then transitions to a whole bodysuit or the bite suit.
Yeah.
And now they're, biting a bite suit
And
for
then
a
that
training
kind of
aspect.
transitions into like, hey, bad guy
Yeah.
only type
Yep.
of.
And there's ways to transition. We do muzzle fighting with the dog, for them to understand, like, now you're taking away the one thing that they have access to, which is their mouth, right?
Mhm.
They do everything through their mouth. They, breathe through their mouth. They taste things with their mouth. They
They
grab
talk.
things, they
Yeah.
talk,
Yeah.
everything, right? So that's their line of communication, and you're taking that away from them. So for a dog that is a high drive dog, that's good for police and military,
Mhm.
if that dog is wanting to continue to quote unquote fight or continue to muzzle punch somebody, they understand, I just keep going, keep
Yeah.
going, keep going. And you create the dogs to have a belief that they're invincible, right? You want
Yeah.
them to perform in every level. They're always successful in a training atmosphere. We'll push them to their failures, and then
Hmm.
if they fail too quick, right, we got to alter our training to back that up to allow them to see. We always say a sight picture. If they've never seen that sight picture,
Yeah.
to have a belief that they're going to be successful and they've never seen that
Sure.
that's wrong for us as trainers.
Yeah.
So that's our job, is to put them in situations to be successful, but we create those scenarios and situations
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. I do want to ask you the deep question, and this may be a little hard for some people because I'm a big animal lover. But you kind of said how alluding to making the dog feel invincible, but a dog is not invincible.
Right.
Um, Kind of like what I was alluding to earlier with you having this mentality of being okay with, yeah, this is probably going to be my last day. Is there the same kind of mentality that you have towards your dog as well?
Absolutely. So I don't know if you
Because,
know, my first canine partner was killed
oh, wow.
in the line of duty. My first canine partner was Harley. He
Uh,
was killed in 2019.
What happened?
We got a call of
Yeah, how much legally can you share
the
about that?
case is done now. The
Okay.
individual sentenced, and
Because even 2019 in the legal sense is still like yesterday.
yeah, I think actually I'm trying to think of in 2024. The individual in that case was sentenced. So
Okay.
the case is now done. But in 2019, November 13, 2019, I was on night shift. I did night shift patrol for 10 years.
Hmm.
And we got a call of a possible drunk driver coming through Fishers on 69. So if you're familiar with the area,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
69 is the interstate that goes through Fishers, goes up to Anderson, and
Yeah,
take it all the way up to Ohio, right?
yeah.
Um, so we got information that there was a drunk driver.
Hmm.
Um, all of us, once again, going back to everything happens for a reason. Myself and most of our shift was out east. We were working a suicide, and we thought the car was just going to continue north or whatever. Obviously it was called in on.
Yeah.
Well, we had a new officer that was a lateral at the time, and with his field training
A
officer.
lateral?
Lateral meaning he came from another department.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Um, well, they were leaving the hospital. They brought an individual to the hospital, and they were coming back up to Fishers. Well, they saw that car pull over in Fishers on 69.
Okay.
And they're like, "Oh, that's the description of the car that dispatch had put out." So they got behind the car. The car took off.
Ooh.
So they
Okay.
got in pursuit with the car. So they're calling out a pursuit, and with me being a canine handler, and I was, it was on Oleo Road that we were over at for
Yeah.
the
Yep.
call that we are on. It
Yep.
was just north of Hamilton Southeastern High School.
That's where I went to high school.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I left that because obviously with me having a dog,
Hmm.
there's somebody that's actively running from us. So I left that
Yep.
to go help the officers,
Yeah.
and most people will not. They try to leave Fishers. They don't trying to go into Fishers or stay in Fishers, right? They're trying to grab them on the interstate and trying to, or,
Get out.
yes. Well,
Yeah.
this individual ends up getting off at the 210 exit. The 210 exit's what the exit that you would get off if you go to like Clips Music Center, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Noblesville and all that
I
stuff.
call it Deer Creek, but
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
old school, right?
Yeah.
Still call it Deer Creek. And people that know it go, "Oh yeah, Deer Creek."
Deer
Yeah.
Creek. Yeah. Yeah.
But it gets off the 210 exit and heads toward Oleo Road.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on Oleo Road, so they're essentially coming to me. Um, I end up getting second in the pursuit. Because our sergeant at the time, who's a lieutenant now, he ends up taking lead for the pursuit, and
Okay.
he ends up pitting the car. Pitting is essentially like a pit maneuver where you make the car spin out, stop, one of
Oh,
those.
yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he ended up pitting the vehicle, and unbeknownst to us at the time, the car was stolen. And the individual inside the car, there was a male and female. The male was 19 years old from Indianapolis,
Mm.
and he had been involved in over 20 shootings in a month and a half. We didn't know this, obviously. Our
Jeez.
information that we got was just a drunk
It's a
driver.
real Bonnie and Clyde here.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, once again, the information after that we gathered, the his friend had just gotten picked up by FBI
Ooh.
like a week earlier. So
Yeah.
this individual thought, "Oh, they're on to me, right?"
Oh, they got me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he takes off running from the car. That's when myself and my canine partner Harley gave chase to him, and we were in a big field. we're lucky because we trained in that field. So I knew how big it was. I knew how overgrown it was. I knew how dangerous it was for us.
So this was kind of maybe a little bit of like a home field advantage to you because you knew that field, you were familiar with
Yeah,
it.
but I always say that, yeah, it helps that you're in the area, right? That's our only home field advantage that we have, that we're in the area. But at the same time, I never know someone's intentions, right, till they show
Right.
me their intentions.
Right.
So he took off running. So it helped me that I knew the area and I
Mm-hmm.
knew how overgrown. So from a safety aspect, from a tactical, I was like, he's maybe going to try to ambush us. Like, we can't keep pushing forward. And that's the benefit of having a dog.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get a dog, it's well known that, hey, there's a chance this dog at some point might be in a situation where he dies, right? And you always say as a handler, it's them, the dog, versus a human being, because we can always replace a dog. As much as that sucks, we can
Yeah.
always replace a dog. At the same time, until you're in that situation, right? I always joke around and say there's people I could think about sending in before I send my dog in, um, but that's just a joke.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, you train this dog up to be successful. You train him, at the end of the day, they're doing their job. And
Mm-hmm.
my caveat to this is, I didn't know this individual had a gun. I didn't know who he was. I
Sure.
would never send, that's when talking about the brains of the operation, I would never send my dog into a situation for him to get killed. I'll never send my dog to his death, right?
Sure.
But
Sure.
also understanding, if it's an unknown, right? There's other things that we can do, but in a situation like this where somebody's running from us after
Yeah.
a traffic stop, you're like, he might have a gun. We don't know that he has a gun, but we have to give chase because now there's a danger to the police officers that are on scene that somebody's just running from us.
Yeah.
There's a danger also now to the community that somebody,
He's
a
at
felon
large.
is running,
Yeah.
right? There's a residential neighborhood, probably 500 yards to the east of this field. Now he's running toward a highly, occupied area with
Mm-hmm.
homes. So there's things like that you have to take into consideration. So I ended up sending my canine partner, and it took us a little bit to find him. I say a little bit, like a couple minutes, if that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we actually had just gotten our body cams at that time. And on my body cam, I'm in the field with the officer that was the lateral, that was the new officer to our police department. He had been a police officer before, so he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
brand new. And then the field training officer.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was the three of us. And right before he was shot, I said to him, "Hey, just let's take this slow. This is dangerous." And not even 10 seconds after I said that, we heard a single gunshot, and he shot my canine partner right on top of his head. It got lodged. It went through his first and second vertebrae and got lodged in the third vertebrae. And thank God it killed him instantly. Then the individual took off running. He ended up now going. He cut back across Oleo and went west into Saxony. If people are
Mm-hmm.
listening to this from Fishers, they know that area. Went into Saxony, and then what saved us that day was it was really cold, so he started getting cold. So we started receiving phone calls on him because he started trying to break into homes.
Mm.
And one of the first calls that we received was a mom that was up feeding her newborn child, and she was obviously up trying to feed her kid,
Mm-hmm.
and the individual was trying to open up her window, saw it, screamed, spooked them, took off running,
Sure.
and then essentially we just created a perimeter around it. We had a lot of help. State police was out there.
Mm-hmm.
Noblesville came. I mean, we had it was the
Everybody.
amount of help that we started once people heard the news that a police canine was shot. At the
Oh
time, we didn't
shit.
know that he was dead.
Yeah.
I fully anticipate. Once I heard it, I had been successful with Harley. We had located a good amount of individuals. So when I heard that gunshot, I was like, "That's for Harley." I knew it.
What's
Um,
going through your mind in that moment?
uh,
Like, are you like, because you're trying to stay focused on your job, but I'm sure like the emotions is just
yeah, it was hard. The first thing that I thought of was I have to stay calm, and collected because I don't want other people to freak out. Right.
because if you freak out everybody, then it's a
Yeah,
collapse.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I start freaking out, then everyone else is going to start panicking, or people, God forbid, you take off run. My first intent is I want to run into the woods. I want to run into the woods and grab my dog, but at the same time, I knew I'm going to put myself at risk. I'm going to put other officers at danger or risk by running in there. So I knew I had to
Yeah.
stay calm, and so I was, putting stuff out on the radio. Um, but in my head, it was just that. that like I remember one of the first things I thought of was people always say like, oh, Fishers, nothing happens in Fishers and whatever. And I remember when I heard that gunshot, um, I I said it's here. I'm in that situation right now that you think of, that you train for. You're like, I'm in it right now.
Yeah.
So you're a little of you is twofold. A little bit of you is, man, maybe it's just a warning shot. Maybe maybe Harley's running around somewhere. I want him to come back to me, but it's flip side to that. You're like, the way we've trained, and he better not be coming back to me. He better be running
Yeah.
after the suspect, right? So
Yeah.
it's like that tugging and pulling moment of like feeling just kind of, you want him to be there, but you don't want him to be there. You want him to be chasing somebody. You don't want him to be dead,
You want your buddy
but
to
at the end
come.
of the day, you're like, I know he's dead. I know that shot was for my dog. But then you start thinking, I started calling for him, and then the fear of like, well, maybe he's wounded, and now he's trying hard to get back to me, and he can't. So then I didn't want to call him anymore. It's like all of these emotions are going through your head of like,
Yeah.
I want him to come back to me. I can't. I don't want to call him anymore. I want him to come. No, I can't. I don't. If he's hurt, I don't want him to bleed out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or I'm
Is there a part
forcing
of you
him to.
that's is there a part of you that's I don't know, is there a part of you that's kind of like wishing maybe I shouldn't have sent Harley? Is there like a little bit of the regret there a little bit?
Luckily, no. Because like after the aftermath and the overwhelming support you get, obviously from the handlers that are like, you did the right thing. It was a good deployment.
Yeah.
But more importantly, like I get like, it's so funny. This obviously was 5, 6 years ago now, and I still get emotional when I think about it. But it's overwhelming, like just like validation to know that I did the right thing. And like when you see your kids again for the first time, when you see your wife again for the first time, to know that at the end of the day, right, I can get another
Yeah.
dog. I can't get another dad. I can't get another husband. So like, and then when you get officers that like are quiet, that just say, hey, thank you. But then when 4 years go by after, like I've gotten text messages and stuff 4 or 5 years after the fact that say, I just want to say thank you, you know? Um, that's when you know you did the right thing. Because they said, hey, if you weren't there, I would have ran in the woods. It would have been me. So that's when you're like, all the training we put in with our canine unit, all the people that put in work with, Harley, and what we do for every dog in our unit, it's you put in all that work for a time like that where everyone at the end of the day can go home, right? Like
Yeah.
I suffer the pain of it all, but it's also a level of appreciation of the work I just put in with the dog and the other
Yeah.
people that put in the work. So it's a sense of pride more than anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely hard
Yeah,
for
you got me
sure.
a little choked up here
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
John Wick was justified.
Yeah. Yeah.
John
Oh,
Wick was justified.
oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's take a sip here. Um, so I think this is a good segue then. Excuse me. This is a good segue then into what the whole show is about and about changing people's perceptions. Um, I feel like a lot of military dogs, police dogs, get this bad rep. And I mean, we were even talking about it a little bit earlier that they kind of get this rep of they're just a junkyard dog, or that they're kind of just a robot, or they're kind of just like this just killing machine.
Yeah.
Um, how would you want to change that perception today? I mean, I think we've already done a good job
Yeah.
of Harley's great sacrifice
Yeah.
there, but
I think, and once I start with this, I think that us as law enforcement were our own worst enemies. So
yeah,
I think there's a track record of maybe not always doing what's best, right? Or even though you're justified in doing something, should you do it? So, but to your question, the perception, I think when, like, if you don't like the police, or you question the police, or if you think dogs are bad,
mhm,
there's plenty of outreach programs that we do. We do a lot of canine demos. Go out and see one for yourself. You
yeah,
make like, and I think that's like I'll go on a soapbox here for a second. I think that's what we run into an issue wise in our society is there's so many people making decisions or judgment conscious things that they're allowing themselves to think when they've never experienced it for themselves. It's just to what somebody else says on social media, maybe a half story that they're hearing, and they don't know what actually nothing's ever happened to them. Even if it's a family member, that's the hardest thing to do. It's like, well, my uncle, my aunt, my mom, whatever it was, had a bad experience, which has been, I've grown up thinking that or whatever because they had that. So go experience it yourself. Go to a canine demo. Go talk with a handler. Go see what the dogs are capable of. When you see obedience from a police canine, when you talk with a handler and understand their track of mind of when we're deploying a dog or what all the things that as a handler you have to think about prior to deploying a dog or the safety aspect of. And that's what's so hard is I think so often people think from a law enforcement perspective of well you're doing this because you're a cop. And what they don't realize is that a lot of decisions are made to what's best for the public right now too. Can I let this in just like Harley's situation? Can I let this individual just run around the city right now? We don't know where he is. Would
Yeah.
you rather him trying to break in? Because once again, like I said earlier, as soon as he tries to break in your home, you're going to want us to do something,
Yeah.
right? We unfortunately we're thrown into a situation where now we have to make a decision based off somebody else's decisions that they chose to do, and I'm just now trying to fix it in a
Yeah.
way, right? Or solve a problem or assist in any way. So when I'm out looking for somebody, it's how can all of us as police officers be safe? Yes, but I'm also thinking I don't want him to go inside of a house, your mom's house, your grandma's house, your aunt's, your brother's, your sister's house, and
Hmm.
now he's doing something harmful for to them because we chose to take a step back and not do anything about it.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I just think the perception of a plain simple of it is do your own research,
Hmm.
have your own experiences, and
Yeah.
talk with a police officer. If you don't
Yeah.
like it, if you know, if the best thing you could do is interact and understand different cultures and
Yeah.
different religions and see why do you think that way? I
Yeah.
don't think that way, but I can learn a lot of stuff by just simply listening and having a conversation with
Yeah.
somebody, right?
Well, that's really the whole point of the show because I'm definitely the kind of person where, um, like I enjoy having conversations with people about things that like we agree on, and it's nice to like have your emotions feel validated. But I definitely enjoy having conversations more. Like I'm more likely to go get a beer with somebody whenever I don't know their culture or I don't know their background. Like, oh, well, tell me about that,
Yeah.
because then now I want to sit down. Now I want to chat.
Yes.
You
Well,
know.
and it makes
So
to me it makes you a better person when I learn more you're like, man, that person's really cool, or
yeah,
that's really cool that I'd never even thought about it that way. And
yeah.
I guarantee you're gonna learn several things in that conversation with somebody
Oh yeah.
that you did right. And so I'm with you. I'm like, and that's the thing about law enforcement that I'm truly fascinated by people. People
Hmm.
are, and I always think there's so many people that have a story that just haven't shared their story.
Yeah.
And I think everyone deserves to share their story and have their story be heard.
Yeah.
And so I always think as a from a police perspective of even though yeah, a lot of times people don't want me there, right?
Yeah.
But if I can build rapport with that person and
Yeah.
have them feel heard or have their story or or the bigger thing of going, hey, you and I aren't that different,
Yeah.
right? And that to me is
Yeah.
what I enjoy about the job. Obviously, it's not always fantastic,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of things that I enjoy about it. And that's what when you leave a situation to go, hey, that person maybe their perspective changed like because
Yeah.
yeah, I'm wearing this badge and this uniform, but at the end of the day, like I'm a human. I'm doing the same grind you are, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to live a better life, trying to be the
Yeah.
best person I can be, trying to live, create an environment in a world that my kids want to grow up in,
Yep.
and that I can go out with my friends and not worry about somebody coming into the bar and shooting up. Like,
Yeah.
who the hell wants to live in an environment like that,
Yeah.
right? So once again, if we all just do our part and just help, unfortunately,
Yeah.
we're thrown into it as a police officer. I'm choosing
Yeah.
this path of trying to help,
Hmm.
but I want everyone should be able to just live their life and
Yeah.
try to do better and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this, and I'm sure some people will be like, "Well, that's a dumb question to ask," but um, whenever you're out in public, say like it's a, I don't know, like the Fisher's Fair or something like that, the festival that they have every
Yeah, the
4th of July
spark.
or something,
Yeah.
and you're out in the community or anything like that. what is the best way for you personally? Like, because I'm sure people, whenever they see the dog, are like, "Oh, it's a dog." What is the best way to approach an officer and to approach the dog? I know that's probably a dumb question to
Yeah.
ask.
No, it's
I
actually
shouldn't have to ask
yeah.
that, but
No, it's actually a good question. We always have funny stories of the amount of we've gotten our police dogs called in on several times because they're barking in the car. People call in like, "There's a dog barking in the car." Like, yeah, it's a police canine. Like, what do
it's
you
a
want me to
canine
do?
dog.
Or
Yeah,
like
like
someone's like, "That dog shouldn't be in the car." But no, I think it's a valid
it's
question.
100 degrees on
Yeah.
the 4th of
Oh yeah.
July. Yeah.
And well, that's what's nice about our door pop system is we have access to see the temperature inside of our car,
Okay.
which is always good. So you'll be out eating somewhere and someone's literally will come in like mad, like I can't believe you're leaving a dog out there. And our cars are
Yeah.
on, they're right, like,
Yeah.
and you're like, I'll pull out my like remote and be like, ma'am, it's 75 degrees and
Yeah.
that dog is probably asleep. Right, he was asleep until you went up to the car and woke him up.
Yeah.
But not I just go up to the police officer. Go
Yeah.
up to him like, "Hey, I saw you have a dog." And like I said, my passion is canine. I think every handler that gets into canine has just a strong passion and love for working dogs.
Yeah.
So they'll want to talk about their canine or tell them about their canine, and then depending on what dog it is and if the level of comfort or the environment that they're in,
Yeah.
I always enjoyed. I'll drive around neighborhoods and when I see kids out playing because I think we're losing that aspect of kids just being outside playing. So
Playing.
when I see kids playing
Yeah, everything
football or
is everything is
basketball,
this now.
yep,
Yeah.
I'll get out of the car and play sports with them. That's what I
Yeah.
like doing or whatever. So and then at the end of that, I'll say, hey, if you guys beat me, I'll let you guys see the dog
Yeah.
or whatever. And then obviously, even if
Yeah.
because I'm competitive, even if I win,
Yeah.
I'll still let him see a dog and pet a dog. And
All
once again,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it goes back to like, and that was probably one of the coolest gifts. I received so many wonderful gifts after Harley was killed. But I got a packet of a neighborhood that got a bunch of pictures together, and sent pictures of all their kids drew a picture of
Oh
me and Harley,
man.
and like they're like, we remember when you played basketball with us. We remember, and so it
Wow.
was so a whole neighborhood got together.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I have all of
Wow.
my stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it was when I saw this because that was like 2 years prior, but
Mhm.
they remembered when I came to play with them, right?
Yeah.
As like, oh my god, a police officer like hung out with us, and then we got to see his dog. Like
Yeah.
like how cool is that, right? So that doesn't
Yeah.
happen often. So when I received those letters of like kids' drawings of like me playing basketball and then my dog, it was like
Yeah.
it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are gonna do a live demo. You've brought your dog Rico.
Yes.
But before we get to that, I actually want to get a demo of you. You've already kind of explained some of what's on your belt off
Yes.
camera. So
Yeah.
if you don't mind taking some of it off, showing the camera, so what some of the stuff that you got going on.
Yeah. So obviously all of our fishers were lucky in that we have body cameras. So this is
Yeah.
our body camera. We also are lucky in the fact that our chief has approved outer carrier vest for us. When I got started, we couldn't have outer carrier vest.
Out of carrier.
Like this is like we call this outer
Oh.
carrier. Before it was just like the old school police uniform of like just wearing the belt and everything was on our belts.
Gotcha.
And this is a little bit more from a longevity of like back issues and things. It's kind of disperses the weight a little bit.
Gotcha.
So a lot
Gotcha.
of our stuff is on our body camera, a tourniquet. This is our e-collar remote. So all of our dogs will have e-collar.
Okay.
It's an invisible leash that if a dog's out running and I need them to stop or a car's coming or something like that, I
Yeah.
can get their attention with either audible tone or shocking them with the e-collar.
Okay.
And then obviously we're trained on the e-collar, so we're not out here just like completely frying these dogs.
Yeah.
And then obviously the radio, which then transitions to the lapel mic that I have on my chest.
Mm-hmm.
Set of handcuffs, extra magazine or extra bullets, call them magazine, a taser,
Mm-hmm.
handgun, and then my door pop, which allows if I'm outside my car, I
Yeah.
can push the button and get my dog to come to me.
Gotcha. What is so you said it's like a little remote you can look at and whatnot?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't have it
really?
on right now, but yeah, it's just,
Okay.
and then the button is what opens the door, which is not on either right now, just in case I accidentally press this while we're doing
Well,
this.
while
and
you're
all of a
sitting
sudden,
down,
like,
yeah, and then
well,
it's
my
like,
dog's
there's
running
the
around
dog.
in the parking lot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the screen up front tells us what the temperature is in the car.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's awesome. So you can just sit there, and you kind of alluded to it earlier as well, whenever we were talking about like you can like just pop it open and then he can come flying out of there?
Yes. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. It's really cool.
Have you ever had to do that?
I've used it one time.
Okay.
One time, and I have been canine handler a little over 10 years now. I've used it one time. We use it in training, like we train it to make sure, because that's the other perception that people have is like, oh, the dog's coming out of the car, he's biting somebody. Well, we want the dogs to come out of the car to find dad, find handler.
Find you.
Yes. And then I will then guide you to the area. But once again, like I said, when I'm the brains of the operation, if it's a chaotic scene or there's a chance that I'm not going to put him in a successful position, I'm not going to open his door because now there's a bunch of kids running around, or I'm at it like, so, or I'm in a heavy lane of traffic. I'm not just sending them just because I can. Yeah. But if it's safe to do so, which, like I said, it's been one time that it was safe to do so. I was in a parking lot, no one's by our car, and we had an individual that ran from us, and I hit my door pop, we call it.
Door pop.
Yep.
It's like a desk pop.
We're not very smart, so we just easy terms. Door pop. Yeah.
Got to dumb it down.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So before we go do the demo, which I'm super excited about, this will be a really fun time. If you don't mind, just taking a look into that camera right there and letting people know where they can find you, or outreach opportunities that y'all may have with the Fisher's PD and all that sort of fun stuff.
So we do several demos and things of that nature at our police department. So online, we do a great job of putting that information out, sharing that information, as well as we do a lot of things through our social media with the Fishers Police Department that you can always find little things there, or they'll tell stories about each dog and their handler and a little background story with that.
Gotcha. All right, I'm excited for this demo. I wish it was me.
I know. I always tell our chief, I'm like, Chief, we could get a lot of money. We don't, like, a lot of people would pay a lot of money to be able to go in the suit.
I don't have much, but I would pay it just for the views.
Every single time we do a demo, we at least get 3 to 5 people that are like, can I please go in that suit?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, so Kyle's going to be our guinea pig today then.
Yep. So. Sergeant Kyle Griffith, he's here to help us. He's obviously, he has a dog of himself. He's our canine coordinator. Yeah. And so he's going to be our pretend bad guy for today.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, before we do that, thank you so much for your service.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. So now we've transitioned from where we were to now elsewhere in the studio, and Jarred and I, we're going to be doing a demo. So, well, I'm not, unfortunately, for legal reasons. As much as I wish I could have been in the suit today, but that's all right. So, Jarred, what are we going to be, or what are you going to be showing us today? And what is his name? Is Rico?
Yes, this is Canine Rico. It's my canine partner. He's a dual-purpose narcotics canine. Okay. So the demo that we're going to show, or that we'll demonstrate, is Sergeant Kyle Griffith will be our pretend bad guy. Okay. And I'm going to simply just post up, which means I will be holding the leash, and Rico will be out in front of me. Okay. And then Sergeant Griffith is going to come in as our pretend bad guy and kind of come into our bubble. Good boys. And Rico's going to show just kind of the handler protection of that when someone's coming into our area. Okay. And then we'll do one more runaway where we kind of see the dog more agile and move around.
Gotcha. And are these demos done so frequently that it's 100% safe for all y'all and the dog?
Absolutely. Yeah, we do a lot of demos to show the community what the dogs are capable of, and allow them to see the hard work that goes in to training the animals.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, I'm a bit nervous for Kyle right now. This is going to be not so fun for him, but I'm excited. This will be fun for the rest of us, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And fun for the viewers. So thank you again.
Absolutely.
So let's get into it.
No, not going back to jail. Not going to...
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me be very clear. I am both upset that I couldn't be a part of this, but I'm also super glad that I was not a part of this right now.
Good.
Good. Are you guys good?
Yeah. Was that fun?
That was awesome. Yeah, a bit intense. Yeah.
Walking past him.
Yeah.
He's hot.
Yep. Alrighty, so that looked like a pretty bad bite.
It was a good bite.
All right, so who's this here?
This is Canine Tiesto.
Tiesto. Okay, Kyle's going to show us some obedience demos from the dog. What sort of stuff are you going to be kind of showing us here?
So we'll just do some heeling around here. We'll do it off lead.
Okay.
Downing, he can stay away from me. He'll come back to the heel position.
Okay.
We'll down him while he's en route to me. You can down him and step over him. Just basically anything, any position. Tiesto, Platz. Up. Any position we need to put him in that we might need to use on the street to keep him safe, keep us safe, keep you guys safe. We work on that over and over and make sure they're really solid. So we'll kind of demonstrate that for you.
Gotcha. And I've already, I mean, he's already been so obedient. With the commands that you're giving him, is that German?
It's Dutch.
Dutch. Okay. And why is that?
Because these dogs come from Dutch breeders, and so the vendor that we buy all our dogs from, they just they typically just use Dutch.
Okay.
It's not that all dogs use Dutch. It's just the people that we buy our dogs from use it. But there's some English mixed in too. Like I'll say here and I'll say no and stuff like that.
Okay, so he knows he knows broken English and broken Dutch.
Okay.
Then. Yeah, pretty much.
He's
Gotcha.
bilingual. Yes.
Bilingual, yeah. Alrighty, so yeah. Then without further ado, I guess we just go ahead and do it then. So
Sure.
let's do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good boys. Let's. Boys. Oh. Good. Let's. Oh. Good boys. Sit. Up. Sit. Up. Off. He's so obedient that it's fun to be able to put him in different positions. It could off. No, off. It could be something you use on like what we would call like a tactical scenario where maybe you down him and you move up to a point of cover.
Okay.
And then you want to call him up to you and have ultimate control. Maybe you've got other officers on either side that, let's.
So it's almost sort of like a tactical sort of like cover for the dog, or okay.
And if you're in a situation where you have multiple officers with you, and there's a lot of yelling, like these dogs get amped up just like Rico was.
Yeah.
He's really amped up. We want to keep him away from anybody so he doesn't nip anybody. That's our responsibility. If I have him in that position of control, I really know that like somebody could be literally on either side as opposed to just being on one side, and I have good control of him. He's not going to nip somebody accidentally just because he gets so excited.
Gotcha.
So
gotcha.
Good boy. Let's. And if you really want to get his attention, you just hold this ball like this. Pull again. Oh.
He's not taking his eyes off that ball.
Yes. Blood. Off.
All right, Kyle, thank you so much. Sorry that you had to get bit.
That's all right.
Jarred, thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing with me your story and your guys' experience. These are really just magnificent animals. They really, really are. I'm in awe, really. I'm just in awe. This has been such a blast. I'm having a good time right now. So if you like today's episode, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm your host, Thomas Casey Zellers, and I will see you in the next one.